Hi, folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
I'm Benjamin.
Part 2.
Yes.
We had some technical issues the first 15 minutes of this podcast.
But all right, we've got plenty more.
I don't know what was going on. My little girl was pulling wires down below, and obviously things were getting jostled around.
I'm thinking you're probably the first father to ever say that.
Yeah.
Ever.
What? Yeah. Because no other kid messes up your thing there. But you know what? We've never. Have we done this before? Have we had to do a reset?
I feel
it feels like we've
done
had one.
this recently.
Have we done this recently?
We've got deja vu happening.
Don't say that.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
I know.
Another podcast.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. So we're going to try to recreate the magic again. I'm pretty sure we can, since we only went 11 or so minutes. Yeah, we're talking about the Time Stories expansion, the Marcey case. We did a
whole
review.
podcast on this after the day after we completed
it.
We were so excited, and then now, finally, months later, we've gotten back together with expectations in hand, and they've been defied once again, and so we had to tell it again. And because I went back and looked at some board game review sites after this last session,
I did too.
I am so surprised at how many people are polarized by Time Stories. And it seemed to me that the pattern was that the very first one polarized people if they couldn't get the big clue that really changed the game for us. And that seems like what happened. That seemed to be the consistent theme of people who didn't like it, is that was too challenging. That big puzzle in the first one was just too much. And then we somehow, I think, and a lot of luck involved as well, figured it out. And it was one of the best parts of the whole experience. But
after a good 45 minutes to an hour. But yes. But the thing is,
it wasn't that long. It felt like that long.
And just to kind of go back
3 in the morning
to that for, that's true too. But the thing is, when we said this, bravo to everyone who still kept it a secret.
I know.
And the thing is, we had everything in front of us. We had all the clues. We went to all the areas.
Yeah.
And we had it all. And anything I could find online was, okay, here's the secret. Did you look at that? Yes.
Yeah. But you made a really good point about psychologists. And you're convinced that they have a psychologist on the staff.
I truly believe they have a psychologist, or like you said,
somebody who took a whole lot of psychology classes and didn't get to use them.
And put them to good use. Because this game knows. Now, you made a point that I want to go back. We'll address now, because I may forget it later on.
With the
white people were divided on the first one.
Yes, they were. People and still are.
Here's the thing, and here's why we're coming back. I never thought we were going to come back and do the expansions.
I didn't either. No, not
because
at all.
We had basically
definitely didn't plan
made our there was no plan to. I was saying we did one review. We're good.
Why would we do another one?
Yeah, because it's just another puzzle in a different time, and it's going to be it's going to be cool.
Those were the expectations we came to this with in hand with.
That was the expectations, and then the game changes. It's almost like Monty Python's, and now for something completely different.
No, I think it was more of this psychologist is like, how can I mess with them now? That's a whole other name. I got a whole way to start.
It definitely was. And by the way, no spoilers on this.
We're absolutely no spoilers whatsoever.
We portrayed the game incorrectly.
We did.
We thought
we portrayed it correctly for if you were only going to ever play the first one.
Enjoyment, yes.
Which is really doing yourself a disservice if you liked the first one.
But we assumed that every expansion was a big puzzle that you had to figure out.
With a different theme maybe, or similar thing.
With a different theme, with different clues, different ways to solve it.
There's more to it than meets the eye.
And that is not what this expansion is. In fact,
it's all right to your point, you have the Transformers theme in your head right now.
I might not tell people to start with the base game.
You think so?
That big puzzle is really hard.
It is very difficult.
It would frustrate people and turn people off from ever buying or playing any other expansion. Whereas, if you played with the second one, it's very straightforward. There are a little bit of puzzles, a little bit of clues, nothing heavy, because it's a different type. It's not a puzzle game.
No, and that was a point that I think I touched on the first review we did. It was that I will never be sold to play something if you tell me it's a puzzle game. Like I've played Zelda. I beat all the Zelda stuff. You know, I'm done. I'm kind of done with puzzle games. You know, you have kids who pull wires out of things, and you don't have time to play Zelda anymore and figure out all the secrets and get all the achievements and all the stuff. Or you just want a good board game night experience, right? And I don't want to be puzzled out. I spend my life working out puzzles in real life because I work in information security, so I figure out mysteries and clues all the time, and I hate doing it now. But so this is not a puzzle game a la, if you like really hard mysteries and really things that are just give you a little bit of this and that. It's not at all. I don't think it's that.
The base will have a lot of puzzles to figure out. It's an experience. Is
The base game
how we explained it.
Of the 3 we have played thus far, and the rest of the we have bought all. We have all of them now.
Yeah.
Like all 8 expansions and the base game.
We plan to play through them all.
Which we did not talk about because we recorded the first podcast the day after, and now we're launching into it.
And to be honest, the same thing happened to me the day after when we got done with the expansions. The same exact thing happened because that's all I could think about. That's all I could talk about. And I was like, but the thing is, we assumed that that's what the game was. What we just saw, different times, different puzzles, different experiences, but basically the same. And we were proven wrong. Now, again, no spoilers here. This one is more of a racing game, meaning you're racing against time. Now, duh, Matt, this is Time Story. You're always racing against time. No, there's not really a big... There's clues and things to unravel, but nothing too big. We just realized that this is... every action you do it's basically, and I said this again, but I'll do something different. It's basically you're trying to... The longer it takes you to investigate, like if you investigate thoroughly, you'll figure out, you have all these choices, like, let's say 5 different doors, and you start eliminating doors.
Yeah, just
that's
one.
basically
Let's
what
go.
it is. The longer you study it, though, the more sure you'll be. However, that means you're going to lose because you're running out of time. This game doesn't have an end game, meaning when you fail for the 3rd and final time, and we accidentally read this the first time we played because the guy I bought it from put everything backwards in the deck. So we read the last one. And I was like, why is he so pissed with us? And why does he say just go through it until you get it right?
Because the boss was so angry.
Screw it, it's done. Yeah, and I was like, oh wait, this must be the last one. So
we apparently did better than the last people who played the game that you bought it from.
Obviously. So this one is basically if you can't make it after the 3rd attempt or whatever,
it's
a
wash.
Play for fun until you get it done because it's basically a wash now. And by then, though, if you think about it, after 3 times, you kind of got it down, probably. If you think about it. Again, no spoilers, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You could
yes,
go through it.
Of course.
Now, the thing is, the first time we played it, we were still expecting the puzzles, the traps, the whatever. And again, on the
red herrings that we had.
The red herrings and
one.
stuff like that. And it didn't. And like I said, this is why we talked about a psychiatrist being in it, because at the very beginning, the opening scroll, when you jump into that time, the year is 1992. That's not destroying anything. It's on the box.
It's in the box
cover. And the thing is, the first question, not one of the first questions you could be asked is, do you trust me? Now, as you know, in past time stories, we talked about this. Some people you shouldn't, some people you should. And then some people don't. It doesn't matter either way because they're going to be useless. The thing is, you never know.
Right.
And the game guesses. It says, they probably won't trust this person, so they should.
Right.
And vice versa. This one, it's all those, but sometimes the answer can be both. I will help you until there. I will hurt you until here. I will do nothing until now, or I will do something and do nothing afterwards.
If you spend this much time, or I will do that if you spend only this much time. It was different the way they got your trust pulling. And again, and you're right. And I liked it. I really liked how the setup. It seems like the setup for the beginning of every scenario will be the same because that's the idea. Is you're a time cop in the future, you're working for the Federation, long distant future, and you're trying to fix James T. Kirk's screw ups that he keeps messing with the timeline continuum, right?
Great analogy.
And so the beginning seems to be the same gig every go round. You are being told by the cop boss, Sam, I believe is his name, which may be a reference to
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap, yes.
I've never thought about that.
Quantum. It just hit me as I said it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then you've got your Edie / Cortana Kaler character from Halo, who's kind of like your personal digital assistant.
And they're adding some humor.
And they add a little bit of humor and back and forth, and they've got personality or jokes and that seem to be running gags.
It's a running gag.
Yeah, and they say some stuff that's very confusing, and But you know what? We probably should go back and read the
I
setup.
did.
Did you? Were there
did.
any like big
I did.
reveals in this one this time around?
It wasn't easy to fill in the blanks as it was the first time
Okay.
around, but I understood basically what they were trying to say.
Well, I love that. So what I wanted to touch on really quickly before we get too far is that you hated the box art originally. And
I thought it was very bland.
you
Yes.
thought it was very bland, and
I'm
you
glad you
passed
brought
on
this
it
up.
like 5 times because you're just like, and
It's white with an object. The
just-
expansions are white with a random object.
just a blank slate, essentially. And that was very off-putting for you as a board game enthusiast.
Yes.
And I, as just a board gamee, or a board gamer, have loved to just come to your house for board game night and be so pleasantly surprised with games that I don't really give much thought to the box art and everything else. People who probably listen to this podcast or who do board game reviews for a living or you know, whatever, they will probably have a lot of the same thoughts you do. However, now after playing 3 of them, 3 of these stories, I believe it's a deliberate choice. It's a blank slate. You are essentially a time cop in the future, and you have to color the past with all of these different scenarios and fix them. And so the white clear AI looking future is a deliberate, you can't come into this with any expectations because all you've got is this and that's it. And then they throw you in and you're thrust into the adventure immediately with no prep, and it's great. It gets you right into the story, and it's not a huge big setup. You do have to have like a 6 or 7 cards you read in a row. And that was the same, I think.
But that's setup. That's the same as the first one.
But that's it. And then you're launched into the mystery of it all, and it's wonderful. And so it's not the same as a puzzle game like a Zelda or a Tomb Raider or anything else like that. That is involved, but it is not the entire game. And it's really a mystery, I would call it, more than a puzzle game.
Now we're almost caught up with our conversation. There's one more topic that we need to recover, then it's all brand new from here. But the topic you said, you had studied people's opinion on the base game.
Did.
And you had found that it was kind of 50-50
It's
because
very
they didn't like
polarizing.
that big, hard puzzle. Because it is kind of hard.
At the end of the first game, the base game, there's a gigantic, very difficult, well-discussed puzzle or mystery, I should say, at the end. And if people could not solve it, as we couldn't at first, and it took us several moments to figure it out. If they didn't, and if someone did somehow on the internet find the clues that you and you couldn't find at all after half an hour of Googling like
we
crazy.
We had all the clues sitting in front of us.
Everything was in front of us,
figure it out.
Right. If people still couldn't figure it out, it was very demoralizing, and they're like, this was kind of a waste, and it just took away a lot of the energy that we had, for sure. And that seemed to be a very divided thing, because I watched a couple of board game reviews that were like that, and then you just saw people's different opinions, and you saw different personalities happening, and clearly the people who liked to play Zelda all day long, and the ones who were like, can we just have a fun board game night? And that's exactly what you just have to lose your expectations going into this and trust that it's going to be a fun mystery to do. Let me see. It's just very polarizing, and it remained so.
And then I responded with, I think that in some ways I'd have people play the expansion first.
That's where I was about to question you, and why is that?
Because it doesn't have that big puzzle. It can be enjoyable.
You're right.
And it would be easier for people to swallow. And maybe then they say, okay, well, let's see what the next one is. And you find it's a different type game. I'll be honest, I didn't even like the theme at first.
I didn't either.
When we jumped into
you
the
mean
first
episode
one.
2 or second one?
No, the first one.
The very first one.
Yeah, I wasn't digging the theme at first. Like, this is kind of weird. Because
it was weird.
By the way, I love this. Now we're getting into new stuff.
Yeah.
We have generic colored tokens: brown, green, blue, and yellow.
Pink and yellow.
Pink and yellow. Okay. They mean something different every time. It's not a spoiler to say that blue is cocaine in the first one,
right?
Which is really weird,
right?
But then brown.
We thought we knew what this was.
For bullets in this one.
Absolutely.
Again, that's not a spoiler. That's in the instructions. But the thing is, though, it'll mean something different in the next game.
Yeah.
And to have these generic tokens, it never occurred to me that all you need is those 4 different colors, because that gives you 4 different items.
And so way more than that.
it's really neat. And we should also mention that the rolls you take, even though you're using the same dice, the different colors on your card,
Yes.
green now means search instead of persuasion.
Right.
We noticed that.
And we noticed that right off. Wait a minute. When we were choosing our characters, we were like, wait a minute. What's my strength? What's my weakness? What's happening?
Where's my persuasion?
What? I don't have a green. Where's your green?
Your character's changed now. Yeah, sometimes you don't have a green. Sometimes
I didn't
you
have
don't
any
a-
green on my character this time around.
Sometimes you don't have a yellow or a brown
Right.
or whatnot. And so the game, and that's what the game says in the instructions at the very beginning.
And I liked about
So-
it in the 6 cards you have to read sequentially in order,
Yeah.
and it's very specific. You know, you read card 3 and you're like, wait a minute. And we're all looking around the boards like, where is that? What's confused? Let me read card 4. Oh, there it is. And then you figure it out from there. But that's the way the entire game is that it's a beautiful, sequential, weirdly linear but not linear story that you tell because that
Exactly.
psychologist knows what you're doing.
And that psychologist honestly got it right. And plus, that they changed the entire way, because I think I said this while we were playing it through the second time. I said, does anyone realize that this is not the big puzzle game?
That was
This
a point
is-
that I was going to make on the way over here is
Yeah.
exactly that, is that when we played the second run of the very first game, we said, okay, we know how to do this now. We're going to figure this out. And it threw a whole new game at us.
Yes.
Then the second time through, we're like, what? Oh, crap,
we didn't do the
fine.
same
We
thing twice.
Right, we did not do the same
And it
thing
was
twice.
incredible to us.
Third time around, we're like, pff, okay, no chance we'll get anything
Yeah,
new.
now we got
Holy smokes, we got something new.
Another level.
Now the second level, per se, of this first expansion was the same thing. It continued that theme of like, wait, how do we not know what's happening here? How do we not know what to expect?
There's not as much big...
Even the tokens were different.
Yeah, there's not as many big reveals as maps go. But the thing is, the reveals are, oh my gosh, because it occurred to me, I was like, wait a minute. And I said this during the second run, I said, this is not, I think this is speed. Because I was thinking, it's going to take us longer than the time they provided to figure this out. But that's the thing. They make you rush. Now, I'm not saying no one can figure this out on the first try. Everyone can get lucky. Or maybe
Nice.
educated guesses.
Yeah, you're right.
We educated one of the big guesses one time.
We did.
got super
Super
lucky.
lucky on another.
But you think about it. If we hadn't have gotten that one right, I don't think we would have won that game. The whole
Or at
game. We
least-
would have
yeah.
failed 3 times.
Oh yeah.
So there's a little bit of luck in there, but there are ways to eliminate the choices. But the thing is, though, that eats up your time.
It does.
And-
And the first game did not have that feel to it at all.
No.
It was a different
No.
feel altogether. It was
It
much
was
more of a
You had to spend your time to unlock.
It was much more clue, and let's figure out all the clues we can
Yeah.
before, as soon as we can. You know, the time
soon
was
as we
still emphasized. Just like Clue, you want to do it, you want to solve the mystery before someone else gets to it.
Yeah.
But
the
you
game
have to
forces
have
you-
some
The
elimination.
game
that goes
forces
on.
you to do your homework.
Exactly.
You got to do your homework, because if
Exactly.
you walk in blind the first one, you're dead meat. And this one, it's like, okay, we'll let you explore a little bit, but you can't explore the whole. I mean, you want to explore the whole way? That's fine. You failed.
Yeah.
We're gonna force you to rush.
What year
and
was
make
the first
rush
one?
decisions.
1950 or 60, something like that.
Something like that. I want to say it was
Maybe
the
the
50s
40s,
or 40s.
actually,
I
30s,
like 40s
something like
better.
that. Yeah. It was, okay. So that was a lot of fun to be thrust into an entirely new, time period,
Of course.
1992. But not
92,
just that.
yeah.
The first reaction to one of the people at the table was, "Oh, there's a Blockbuster video still around. I can return
Yeah.
these videos
Hilarious.
now." And maybe that's what our boss was so upset about. He didn't get to. He's trying to get us these tapes that he was overdue.
Get those late fees waived.
And we were thinking, okay, we got this 92 new version of this old
Yeah.
hat thing that we've already done. And holy smokes, could not have been more wrong.
And it was like that a little bit. Like, follow us, we'll tell you what's going on.
So
and the
even if
entire
you-
first round, we didn't know what was going on.
Even if you did not like the first game, this was the thought I was going to complete earlier about
Yeah,
the
go
board
ahead.
game reviews, is that even if you didn't like it the first time around, you're doing yourself a disservice. Even if you did like it, whether or not you did, I feel like it's still a disservice to the people who, because we were so wrong after our first review, for our review of this podcast
That's
the
what
day
I
after.
was thinking about.
We were wrong, man. Like we were like, this is what the game is. Here's the review,
And we enjoyed
You'll
it for
really
that.
enjoy it if you do this. And man,
Well, I remember even saying this is for people perfect who love escape rooms. I remember saying that last time.
Yes.
And no, you're not gonna. If you like escape rooms, this is
Exactly.
something completely
this
different.
is something completely different. And I'm not a huge escape room fan either. And I feel like that even whether you liked it or whether you didn't, you are still doing yourself a disservice
in
by
the
not
games,
playing the rest of
there
them.
were several times we laughed. There was gotcha moments where we just
Still
hung our
love
head and
that.
laughed.
That's still the crux. That's the best part. Is the gotcha.
I love how history repeats itself, and we decided, okay, we'll go this way around the board. And it was wrong the first game we played.
Man, was
and we
it
said,
ever.
hey, let's not make that mistake again. And unknowingly, we did.
Did we do the same thing?
We did. I'll explain why in a minute, because some place you were not supposed to go to next, we went to.
Are you
And
serious?
it screwed us over.
Oh my
On the
god.
very next first move, we're like, oh, you're supposed to do this backwards. Because the last place we went gave us all the helpful things that we would have needed later on. It was, but
That's so clever.
But then
I love it.
vice versa. There was one thing, because we went backwards, it helped us. It saved us a lot of time.
That's true.
But-
And then I think the third time, it took us 3 times to get through the second episode, right?
Well, yeah, we were on our last try, and at that point,
Well, it was our second try, I thought, with the big aha, gotcha.
well
and
the
then
second
they
second
screwed us.
try. That's when we kind of we didn't
Got
know
cocky.
we were at the
Great
last.
kid. Don't get cocky.
Exactly, we didn't know we were at the last level. We figured it out.
Oh,
Went,
yeah.
Okay, so we went all out. Bang, bang, bang. They even have, again, no spoilers, because this is in the instructions here at the beginning.
Yeah.
Noise. I forgot to mention this.
As a new mechanic. A whole
No-
new mechanic
yeah.
was even thrown into the game the
Being
second time
quiet
around.
is an advantage to you. There's great items, great weapons in this game. However, they make a lot of noise. If you make noise, then bad things will
Bad things
happen.
are going to happen, bro.
And one bad thing happened on the first round. However, we didn't find out what it was because we ran out of time. And then the second time, when we figured out this is the final level, okay, it doesn't matter. Make as much noise as you want. And so we did. And
Did we? Did it?
Yes,
did it
we
say-
did. Yes, we did.
Oh, wow. Ah, yes,
Yes, we did.
you're
I
right,
said,
you're
"Screw
right.
it. We got these. Let's make the noise." Then it doesn't matter
Either way,
anymore.
it was a beautifully
So-
balanced, counterbalanced, it
was great.
counterweighted decision-making process the whole time.
And at the end, it fooled us again.
It did.
The second
Oh
time.
my gosh!
The
did it
second
ever.
time we failed.
Yeah,
Because we got to the end, and then it's like,
and it was rude. It was so rude.
And we were just like, this, because at first, this is it. We're going to win. We finally did. It took us
Now
a
we're
try,
done.
but that's what experienced players do. And
Go
it's
ahead
like,
and open
nope,
up the third box. We're gonna get that one going
Yep.
here in a second.
Go with the.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
But I remember our last try, we were running through it.
Yeah.
Because we had to.
Well, I loved it. We made a conscious choice after a certain point of the clue or whatever we got. I forgot what the decision was. Something that happened in the story, which even if I remembered, I wouldn't tell you what it was. But there was a moment where we said, "Okay, here's what we think is going to happen now. We've got this. We've got that. We don't need that. So let's just gun it and go for our broke." And we just went all in and.
you have to go on an educated hunch because there is
Yeah.
when you fail
Because
spectacularly,
if you
like
take
we
the
did in the
time, yeah.
when you fail spectacularly, that's when that for me, I'll just say for me, the second time when I was like, oh, and then everything started. I knew this is a race game.
Yeah. And then it falls.
It's
into place.
designed to make you fail if you study hard.
Yep.
Because we could have,
Which is almost the polar opposite of the first one.
Exactly. Where you, if you rush in, you're going to fail. You
Yeah.
have to study up before you rush in. And then that's when it all hit me. I was like, so it has to get down to an educated guess, which we were pretty confident we had this time. But do you remember we barely made it back?
Oh yeah,
Because there was,
just barely.
we fell for it, the big bamboozle.
Yes, there was.
And they got us again.
They got us again. It was
We,
awful.
We
and
laughed
great.
the first time they got us.
But then the second time it was like, how?
It was a laugh and a groan when they got us the second time.
It really was.
It's that fool me twice, shame on me moment. But it was so funny because you thought this time it's different. It's weird.
And
I can't
it
spoiling
manipulates
anything.
you to set you into that headspace by then. Like you're
It
manipulated
does.
by then.
It knows where you're going to
Yeah,
be, and it knew. And I think at the same time,
Because if you think about it, Jaws would have been way less terrifying if you saw Jaws at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, you're not thinking that's a big mechanical shark, like you
Right.
would have at the beginning of the movie. But you've seen what Jaws can do. You know what happens
this
to these
point,
people
yeah.
at this point, which is the crux of a lot of good horror movies. And the first one had first time stories had a much more of a horror-esque sort of feel, and the mystery is still in place. It was a horror mystery, but the mystery part is still in place for the next one and the third one. But the theme and the mechanics and almost everything else about the game adjusts.
I should mention another thing that I didn't notice until the third and final run was they have these trash cards. Trash means it has a trash can on it. When a card has this is a new mechanic.
This was
when
whole new thing.
Has a trash can on it. You usually don't want to go there because you look at the picture like, no.
It's an aversion
But
react.
it's a one-time only. If
It's
no
like,
one goes
here we
to it
go,
after
we
the
gotta
first
do it
one,
now.
it
So
disappears from the board.
That plays into emphasizes what you were saying about a race against time.
And so it's the FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yep.
You have to go there. And by the way, it's bad.
Were
That's not a
all
spoiler.
of the trash cards worth doing, or did we get screwed over by some of them? I can't remember.
I know.
Maybe that's giving away too much.
No, let's not go into that. Yes
Yeah.
and no. I think yes and no.
I feel like not all of them were good.
Oh, none of them were good.
I think maybe they all had that balance of.
But it was interesting because that fear of missing out, you've got to go for it.
Yeah, you're
You've
right.
Got to go,
that really played
because
heavily.
we went for that. Even though there's one
that's-
front of the card, you know it's going to be bad. You know it's going to be bad.
Right.
Like, I got to go.
Right.
We got to go.
have
'cause
to
it's a
try
trash
it.
card.
We have to do this.
We
And
would sit-
that was where our psychological state was at the end of the second run, and that's exactly why we screwed ourselves again. We're like, no way.
But the game knew. It's like the game is alive. I told you this. It's like the game puts you all as rats in a maze, and it shocks you when you make wrong turns.
Yes.
And it says, okay. Then the game goes, did it learn? Did it learn? Because I guarantee you, after that second and final shock, I went, wait a minute.
I'm never doing that again.
Because I learned it, and I said, it's not about this, but some rats are dumber than others. And to be, I wouldn't say dumb. Some people are like, no, we have to boil this down. But you don't realize that you're losing so much time. And it just kind of hit me. It's like, that's not the point of this. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the twist ending of Saul. The man gets up from the floor and walks out the door. I was like, I know what this game is now.
So have you ever?
Even then, we barely, if you recall,
No, you're right.
time-wise, we barely.
Yeah.
Even though we knew everything to do.
We didn't get the worst ending possible, but we came close.
We got the second worst.
We came the second worst ending possible, and
but we made it.
So don't. I mean, we keep saying no spoilers, but have you ever seen Master of None with Aziz Ansari? His on Netflix. It's a great show. Came out about 5 years ago or so, but the season 3 just came out, which wasn't good to me. But season 1 and 2 are worth watching, and one of the big characters. I'm drawn to characters who are very tall in TV shows. You know, I get represented, right?
Of course, yeah.
And so I walk out of a movie theater together. He's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see this movie," because he's talking to his friends. And he walked out of the movie theater and he sees his friends and he's like, "I can't wait to see this movie. There's this big twist at the end." And then they cut him off and like, "What? Don't tell me that." He said, "What? I didn't tell you what the twist was, but now we know there's a twist and we're expecting it the whole time." So with time stories, I feel like you should kind of expect a twist no matter what.
You always have to, but you just don't know what. You truly
you have zero idea.
Like
what
I said,
it will be.
when the second round, I was like, the world.
Right.
You know, the floor gets pulled out from underneath you, and you start falling like in what is that?
What, Inception?
Horror movie? No, where she stirs the cup and then taps it twice, and he falls to the couch into the blackness of Netherlands. I can't remember what it's called.
Talking about, but I can't.
But
think of it.
it's like that. You just start falling. You're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I see what's going on. The twist music is playing as you're going.
right. Oh, here we go.
And then
Rabbit
you hear
hole.
Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
Oh,
And, you know,
yes.
and then just things go wild.
Yes.
But that's the reason we want to do these is because I want to say that I was wrong the first time. This game evolves, it changes, and it can be many things. Now we're gonna come back next week and talk about the next expansion. But
it really is a great setup for the first game with its blank slate. It is such a wonderful tool to have, and just to have a blank canvas and a toolbox to play with. And they did a great job at painting two entirely different pictures. It really feels like there were two different teams working on it, and I'd say that even if it was the same. Even if it was the same team, that is meant as a compliment, because the highest compliment I can give for a game like this.
That they went in a different direction, and immediately the opening scene, you're like, wait, what?
Right.
And suddenly,
what do you mean there's green tokens now?
It's a whole new game at this point. You're just like getting
right away.
What is this new world?
Right away.
You don't know.
It erased all of our expectations from the very first moment, and then the plot, the mechanics, the way the game was played.
Yep.
All of it was
Pacing,
different.
everything.
All of it was great.
Everything's
and it ended up being almost as fun as the first experience.
Oh, just because we were surprised. Now we knew we were looking forward to what to expect.
Yeah, but then we didn't.
And we were going to enjoy it, we thought anyway, but then we enjoyed it, but a totally different experience.
Which launched us into the wonderful mystery that was the third one that we're going to talk to you about next Saturday.
Morning.
Samoflange.
You gotta believe it! You want to hear a spoiler?
Oh,
you want to hear a spoiler?
Is this the spoiler alert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me tell you the
So,
spoiler.
here's what happens
You
at
set
the
it up.
end.